Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of Sequences and Series. Today, we're going to talk about what a series is exactly and how that's different than a sequence. So, we've been doing sequences and using calculators to create equations for sequences and determining whatever the nth term of a general term would be. So let's look at this sequence. This is just, it's going down by 4 each time. And if I were to ask for example, what is a sub 3? That means, what's if this is the first number, second number, this is the third number, this is the fourth number, and so on, so on, so on. A sub 3 means what's the third number of the pattern, which is 7. A sub 1 would mean what's the first number, which is 15, and so forth. And the equation for this, and by the way, this is the second pattern that was on your on the first assignment from this week, the one where you were supposed to find patterns on your own. Write the equations for patterns on your own. And the equation for this, I'm getting, we can say it's y equals negative 4x plus 19. And if you're unsure how I got that or how to do this, there's probably different options you could have for this. Tomorrow we are going to be talking about how to create equations, and that's when we start section 10.2, which is specifically on how to find equations for linear patterns. So this is the equation for that. In this chapter, we're going to be writing it in our new notation. So we're using n instead of x, and we're writing a sub n instead of y. Okay, so here's our equation. So here's a series, same numbers, but what do you notice is different? Well, instead of commas, they're separated by plus signs. So a series is a sequence that is being added. So, if this is still a sub 1, this is still a sub 2, but it's not listing them out in a pattern. It's actually giving you a mathematical operation to do, which is adding. So for series, they're always being added. And instead of, there's no equation for it. The equation for this series would still be this equation, but you wouldn't write it just like this. You would write it as you would use the capital letter S. Okay? So it would be S sub n equals negative 4n plus 19. And we're not going to see this too often. And what you're going to see when they use the capital letter S for series, they're going to tell you just to find a specific sum of a certain of the first few n numbers of a pattern. So what do I mean? If I were to say what is S sub 2, okay, S sub 2 means add the first two numbers of the pattern together. So it'd be 15 plus 11, which is 26. S sub 3 would mean add the first three numbers of this sequence, which would be 15 plus 11 plus 7, and that would be 33. Okay? S sub 4 means add the first four numbers of the pattern, and that would be 36. So that's really all the differences between a sequence and a series. A series is pretty much a sequence, but again, it's just being added. And you're adding the sum of a given number of n numbers in the pattern, okay? So there is a way to do this on the calculator. But before I show you how to do that, you need to understand this new notation. Ooh. So Contrary to popular belief, this is not the letter E. This is the Greek letter S. Okay? This is the Greek letter sigma, which is how they say the letter S in Greek. I'm pretty sure that's an accurate statement. And if you have siblings or parents who used to be in fraternities or sororities, you might have seen these on their letters, on their symbols, on their any apparel that they have from those fraternities or sororities. So it's sigma. It's not E. There is a Greek letter E that looks just like the English letter E. So anyway, this is sigma notation. So with sigma notation, what they're saying is to find the sum of a certain number of numbers in this equation. Well, why does that equation look familiar? Well, because it's literally what our equation was on the first in the sequence earlier. So, and notice they just write the expression part over here. They don't. It's not a sub n equals. There's no equal sign in sigma notation except for this one. But this kind of doesn't mean. It means something a little different. In sigma notation, it's saying you have your equation, and then at the bottom, it's going to have a variable equals a number. So this variable is the same variable as that. Okay, and what it's saying is this is where you're starting from. So starting from n equals 1, find the sum of all the n's in this equation, starting from 1, going up to 4. Okay, so let me remove this. This number here is, oops, go away. I don't want you. Okay. Oh, there we go. Oh, never mind. All right. So this is saying, I'll say ending at n equals 4. Okay. So what this is saying is starting from plugging in 1 into n, and keep going all the way up, increase your n by 1 every time until you get to 4, add up all those results together. So starting from n equals 1, we have -4 times 1 plus 19. Again, that's our starting number, and that is going to be 15, which is what our first number of the pattern was. Now plug in 2. Plug in 3. Plug in, and then go all the way up to 4. That is not 4. I'm sorry, guys. This is the 4 I was thinking. Okay. So going up to this, and here we're going to have 11. Here we're going to have 7. Here we're going to have 3. So it's literally what you're getting in the pattern. And what we're going to do at the end of all these is we're going to add these all up. That's what sigma notation means. So 26, 33, which is 36, which is what we got in this notation. Okay? So you see, sigma notation looks complicated, and I'm sure most of you saw this when you started your 10_1 homework, and you're like, really? It's honestly, it's really not that bad. It's actually pretty cool how that works, and you can do this on your calculators, which I will show you in a bit. It's just important for you to understand what this notation means. So for all the homework assignments, the bottom number is just telling you what to start from. What first of all, what the variable that you're using is, which is n, and what n value you're starting at, and you're going to add every n going up by 1 because these are patterns. And as I said in yesterday's video, we don't really we only use counting numbers, or whole numbers, I should say. So, and we're going to go all the way up to 4. Okay, this is the top number is the ending number, and then this is the equation that you're plugging it into. All right, so how do we do this on the calculator? Well, real quick, before I do that, actually, just to verify, S sub 4 and saying this is the same thing. Specifically the S sub 4, because this one is telling us, the one in sigma notation is telling us to go up to 4. So these two things that I boxed are the same exact thing. And as you get more familiar with sigma notation, I actually prefer this notation so much better than this. This actually involves a lot less writing, and you'll learn that as we go on. So how do we do this on the calculator? Well, first of all, your teacher's going to have to know how to use his tablet in order for him to show you. And why are we not? Did my calculator just disappear? Well, while we're doing this, how about those bears, huh? I'm kidding. I don't think anything happened. Just trying to kill time. All right, there we go. Cool. So I'm going to put this. It's going to take me 1 minute. Remember our math button. Okay. If you go up or down, you just have to go down a lot. You get to summation, which is for those of you who've had the 84 all year long, remember the log base. It's right above the log base. Press enter, and look at that. You literally just have to plug the things in. Now, just be careful. I mean, I would recommend just using X's instead of N on the calculator because it's a lot easier to get to than trying to find N over here. I mean, I know it's in alphabetical order, but X, you just have to press this button. It saves you so much time. So X equals 1. Let's move up. We're going all the way up to 4. And in the parentheses, -4. And don't put N because it's not going to know what you're talking about. You got to put X because we're using X over here. Plus 19. And what is the sum of the first 4 numbers of that equation? 36. Look at that. I'm here all day, people. Let me know. Excuse me. Let me know if you need help. Have a good day, and be good, and be safe. Be well. Go Kids.